What is American genius? What did it mean a century ago, and what does it mean today? The Corcoran Gallery of Art invoked encouraging American genius in its founding charter, and as the meaning of those words changed over time, so did the museum. Established in 1869, the Corcoran became the first museum in the United States founded as an art museum, and the Philadelphia Bulletin would soon dub it a national art gallery. But both the Corcoran and the country were wrestling with American identity on the heels of a fracturing Civil War. The Corcoran Gallery of Art evolved out of the personal collection of William Wilson Corcoran, co-founder of Riggs Bank. The Corcoran's first big hit was Hiram Powers's The Greek Slave, a sculpture of a Greek woman enslaved by the Turks during the Greek Revolution. Americans who caught a glimpse of the sculpture on a nationwide tour were enthralled. Once the sculpture arrived at the Corcoran, she became the center of the collection. W. Corcoran so loved the way the sculpture channeled ideas of Christian purity and virtue, he had his daughter married in front of it. At the time, the Washington Evening Star newspaper stated the Greek slave marked our first success in national art. Abolitionists also seized on the work as a symbol of the anti-slavery movement, using it to rally Americans to their cause. But W. Corcoran had enslaved people and was a friend of the Confederacy. When the Civil War broke out, Corcoran fled to Europe, abandoning the construction of a new building for his museum. Post-Civil War, W. Corcoran returned and completed construction, hoping to restore his reputation with new displays of American genius. Over the next decade, the Corcoran exhibited a range of presidential portraits, from Gilbert Stuart's portrait of George Washington that served as a model for the $1 bill, to a portrait of a young Abraham Lincoln without his trademark beard. In the last decades of the 1800s, the Corcoran acquired another American blockbuster, Frederick Edwin Church's Niagara. This epic landscape painting, along with others by the rising Hudson River School artists, represented a vision of American genius to which Europe had no answer. Church's rival, Albert Bierstadt, so wanted to join the Corcoran collection, he renamed his mountain lake painting Mount Corcoran to catch W. Corcoran's eye, and it worked. These grand, immersive paintings captured the nation's and the world's imagination, but they also represented a sense of entitlement to the American West. Paintings such as The Last of the Buffalo by Bierstadt illustrated the complexity and problem of westward expansion. Bierstadt depicted Native Americans, not white settlers and the U.S. Army, as the reason buffalo populations were driven to near extinction. In reality, the animals were critical to the survival, cultural, and spiritual practices of the tribes of the Great Plains, who were being dispossessed of their lands. While the painting and others like it perpetuated the destructive myth of a vast landscape ripe for the taking, they also led to conservation efforts that Bierstadt joined, culminating in the formation of the National Park Service. The Corcoran Gallery of Art didn't simply want to exhibit American genius, it also wanted to stoke its fires through education and competition. The Corcoran School of Art provided students with a rare opportunity to train among works of art from leading artists. The Corcoran Biennial was one of the most important competitions for contemporary American painters and a major cultural event. Legendary artists like Mary Cassatt, Winslow Homer, and Childe Hassam submitted paintings to the inaugural biennial in 1907, but Willard Metcalf may have benefited the most. His ethereal painting, May Night, won top prize, cementing his status as an artist and the importance of American Impressionism. While the biennials were a big success, the full spectrum of American experience was not always represented. Artist Lois Mailou Jones won a prize for her landscape, Indian Shops, Gay Head, Massachusetts, in 1941. but a white friend had to submit the painting on her behalf because African Americans were banned from competing. The early years of the 20th century saw the development of radical new art movements, like Cubism and abstraction, but during this period, the Corcoran primarily focused on American realism. Artists like George Bellows depicted immigrants and Americans flooding into rapidly growing cities after the Industrial Revolution. Bellows responded to America's growing immigrant communities with his painting 42 Kids. Both the painting's style and subject matter were controversial. One critic called it original and vivacious, while another decried its inexcusable errors. Though the Corcoran Gallery of Art embraced the innovation in Bellows's gritty realism and loose brushwork, it later largely bypassed collecting abstract expressionism. By the 50s, though, avant-garde artists were gathering at the Corcoran School of Art. The Corcoran School was a pivotal hub for one of the country's most famous art movements, the Washington Color School. Greats of the scene were inspired by abstract expressionism, but applied the influence of Washington, D.C.'s distinct geometric layout and vibrant colors to create their art. Many Washington Color School artists, like Sam Gilliam, Gene Davis, Morris Louis, Thomas Downing, and Kenneth Noland, were either students or teachers at the Corcoran School of Art. Though it took a while longer for the Corcoran to acquire Washington Color School artworks, the museum took a step towards the avant-garde with the 1968 Biennial. Controversial pieces like Barnett Newman's Broken Obelisk, an upside-down obelisk displayed steps away from the Washington Monument, reflected the artist's view that the government's policies were upside down during the Vietnam War era. The idea of American genius was undergoing a revolution across American society and within the museum.
A disease is spreading which threatens us all. There is no treatment, no cure. AIDS. Fear is spreading along with the virus. The only way to protect ourselves is to learn more about the disease.
In 1989, the Corcoran found itself at the forefront of another crisis in American society, America's battle with AIDS. An exhibition of photographer Robert Mapplethorpe's sometimes explicit portraits of the gay community was planned, but later canceled by the Corcoran due to political pressure. This led to a huge public outcry. But a few years later, the Corcoran put up its first exhibition from the queer community. In 1994, Nancy Andrews' photographs told the story of gay and lesbian Americans and their loved ones, again expanding the boundaries of American genius. As the 1990s continued, the Corcoran Gallery started to broaden its vision of American art by acquiring seminal works by key African American artists like Kara Walker and Carrie James Marshall. Walker challenged historic depictions of Black Americans, and Marshall reimagined historical paintings by centering the Black experience. In 1996, Thurlow Evans Tibbs Jr. bequeathed a trove of artworks by African American artists to the Corcoran, including several paintings by Lois Mailou Jones. 50 years after being excluded from the museum, the artist took her rightful place as an icon of American genius. Sadly, the Corcoran Gallery of Art was forced to close its doors in 2014 after years of financial difficulties. The Corcoran collection grew in tandem with America, a young country struggling to define its identity. The museum was a microcosm of the country, with many of the same fault lines. As the United States of America navigated into the future, so did the museum. The Corcoran collection now represents a wide spectrum of American genius that will inspire artists into the future. 100 years ago, the Philadelphia Bulletin recognized the Corcoran as a national art gallery, and today, The National Gallery of Art continues that tradition by proudly displaying and conserving the Corcoran collection for generations to come. Currently, about 25% of the American paintings on view at the National Gallery of Art come from the Corcoran Gallery of Art, a testament to both museums' lasting commitment to American genius.